Okay, let's unpack this. If you drive a vehicle in the Tualatin area, chances are you've experienced it. That inevitable, that dreaded thwack sound.
Oh, yeah. The rock hitting your windshield.
Exactly. And then you see it, that little creeping spiderweb crack. It's so irritating, and it immediately raises like three big questions.
How much is this going to cost me?
That's number one. Then, how long am I going to be without my car? And, fundamentally, is it actually safe to just wait on this?
Welcome to the deep dive.
Mm.
Our mission today is to transform that moment of anxiety into a clear, informed decision.
Okay.
We've taken your source material on the Tualatin market, the installers, the insurers, the safety standards, and we've basically distilled it into a roadmap for getting your vehicle fixed and fixed properly.
And affordably, I hope. So let's start with that big question right away. Cost. You see these giant ranges quoted online, and it's just confusing.
It is.
Based on our source material, if you need a full windshield replacement in Tualatin, what are you generally looking at?
You are generally looking at a price tag between, say, $200 and $600.
Okay, that's a $400 difference. That's huge.
And that $400 difference isn't arbitrary at all. It really reflects this massive technological shift in how cars are built today.
What do you mean?
Well, if you have an older car, maybe a decade old or more, one that needs just a standard, uncomplicated piece of glass, you're going to be firmly at that low end, that $200 mark.
So that's the baseline, just glass, labor, and the adhesive.
Pretty much.
Right.
But the vast majority of vehicles on Tualatin roads today are, well, they're not baseline anymore.
Right. So what's the technology that forces that price all the way up towards $600, or maybe even more in some cases?
It boils down to one acronym: ADS,
Wow.
Advanced Driver Assistance Systems.
I feel like I see that everywhere now.
You do. And you should think of the modern windshield not as just a piece of glass, but as a critical optical gateway for all that technology.
Okay, so break that down. What features are we talking about?
If your car has lane departure warnings, automatic emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, pedestrian detection, even something as simple as automatic rain sensors.
So pretty much any car made in the last 5 or 6 years.
Exactly. Those systems rely on cameras and radar units that are mounted directly to or right behind the windshield.
So if I drive a newer SUV with a full safety package, the glass isn't just glass anymore. It's a structural mount for these incredibly precise sensors.
That is the perfect way to put it. And that means you have two major cost increases.
Mm-hmm.
First, you need specialized OEM glass.
Original equipment manufacturer.
Right, or at least an equivalent quality, because the camera's literally looking through that glass. A slight imperfection, a subtle ripple in some cheap aftermarket glass can completely blind or confuse that sensor.
And what's the second cost increase?
The second, and this is completely non-negotiable, is you need calibration services.
Oh, okay.
That service alone is a major part of the price jump. It often adds, $150 to $250 to the final bill, depending on how complex it is.
Wow. So that $600 number suddenly seems completely justified. You're paying for specialized expertise and technology, not just a sheet of glass.
And we also have to consider the vehicle's pedigree, which the source material points out. If you own a European luxury vehicle, like a late model Audi or BMW,
You're in for a higher bill.
you're almost always required to use genuine OEM glass, which carries a premium. It's
Yeah.
just built to such tight tolerances.
And I imagine the parts are harder to get.
More constrained, for sure. Now, contrast that with, say, a popular domestic sedan or an Asian compact SUV.
A lot more of those on the road.
Right. And for those, there are often high-quality, certified aftermarket options that meet all the necessary safety and optical standards, but at a more competitive price.
So that gives you a little more flexibility without really compromising safety.
It does. And we can't ignore just the sheer size factor. Trucks and larger SUVs, which are super common around Tualatin, they often require more complex handling.
Bigger glass, heavier lift.
Exactly. More specialized equipment for the installation. That just naturally increases the labor time and the cost.
Okay, here's where it gets really critical for our listener safety. You mentioned ADS calibration.
Yes.
If I'm trying to save some money, is it truly dangerous to skip that calibration? I mean, if I get the new glass put in and the warning lights aren't immediately flashing, what's the real risk?
That is a phenomenal question, and it's probably the single most important insight from the source material for modern drivers. The risk is profound.
Profound how?
The problem isn't usually an immediate, obvious failure. It's a gradual, subtle, but potentially deadly miscalculation.
Okay, explain that.
Imagine a camera that's designed to spot a deer 300 feet ahead. If replacing the windshield shifts that camera's angle by just a fraction of a millimeter, and it always does, that camera might now be pointing, say, 5 feet too high or slightly to the left.
So the system thinks the road is straight ahead, but the camera is actually aimed at the shoulder.
Precisely. Your lane-keeping assist might aggressively steer you back into your lane when you're already perfectly centered.
Or worse.
Or worse, your automatic emergency braking system might fail to recognize an obstacle in time because its field of vision is compromised. The vehicle's safety systems are effectively running on bad data.
And that's where the liability issues that the sources mentioned could come from.
That's exactly where they come from.
So if I'm shopping for an installer in Tualatin, what 2 things should I be asking to make sure they're qualified to handle this calibration?
You need to ask about the specific calibration type your vehicle requires. The sources highlight 2 main types. The first is called static calibration.
Static.
This has to be done in the shop, in a climate-controlled bay, using specialized targets and diagnostic equipment placed at very exact distances from the car.
So it's a very controlled environment.
Think of it like taking your car to an optometrist to read an eye chart under perfect lighting. It's that precise.
And what's the second type?
That's dynamic calibration. This is the one that actually requires road time. The technician has to drive the vehicle, usually on a straight road, at a specific sustained speed for a set distance.
What does that do?
It allows the system to relearn its environment and verify all the sensor inputs against real-world conditions. A qualified Tualatin shop will have the tools and the protocols to do one or the other, or sometimes both.
That gives our listener very concrete questions to ask when they're booking the appointment. Okay, let's shift to the time factor. People need their cars. If I drop off my vehicle in the morning, how long until I can actually drive it safely?
The time frame is generally pretty manageable, but you have to respect the chemistry that's involved,
The chemistry.
the adhesive.
Mm.
But in total, most replacements take between 1 and 3 hours.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Not at all. The actual physical installation of the glass might only take, 60 to 90 minutes. But the crucial part is the adhesive curing time.
This is where the Tualatin and Pacific Northwest factor comes in, isn't it?
It absolutely does. The P&W weather, the high humidity, the dampness, the cooler temperatures, all of that can affect the specialized polyurethane adhesives they use to bond the glass to the frame.
So if it's a typical wet Oregon winter day,
Your installer might wisely add another 30 minutes to an hour to the estimated finish time, just to ensure that seal sets properly. Rushing that step is dangerous
why is it so dangerous?
because it compromises the structural integrity we're about to talk about. So you should really budget for the full 3 hours, especially if ADS previous calibration is involved, since that adds another 30 to 60 minutes right there.
That's a great practical insight. Respect the curing time. Now let's talk about saving money. You mentioned the out-of-pocket cost is often much lower than that $200 to $600 range.
It can be.
So how do we navigate insurance policies to find the biggest shortcut?
This is probably the most useful piece of actionable advice. You must check your comprehensive insurance policy first,
Before you call a shop.
before you do anything. In Oregon, most comprehensive policies cover auto glass replacement with a minimal, or sometimes even a zero, deductible.
A zero deductible. Wait, why would an insurance company just waive a deductible for what could be a $500 repair?
It's all about risk management for them. They categorize glass damage, from road debris, hail, whatever, as a no-fault incident.
Okay, that makes sense.
And more importantly, they would much rather pay for a full professional replacement now than risk the structural failure of your vehicle in a serious accident later. That would result in a massive collision or liability claim for them.
So it's actually cheaper for them to waive the deductible and get you to do the repair right away and do it right.
Exactly. They're encouraging immediate high-quality repair.
So the action item for the listener is, before you call a single shop, call your insurance company and ask 2 questions. 1, does my comprehensive policy cover glass replacement?
Yep.
And 2, is the deductible waived for this type of claim?
That's it. And the vast majority of Tualatin drivers with comprehensive coverage are going to find that the professional, calibrated, high-quality OEM replacement
The one that makes their car 100% safe again.
actually costs them nothing out of pocket.
That is a huge takeaway. Okay, let's transition now because this cost discussion leads directly into the quality discussion. When we talk about safety, we're not just talking about visibility anymore. We're talking about the integrity of the vehicle itself.
Right.
What does the source material reveal about the windshield's structural role?
The statistics are, frankly, shocking, and they should completely change how you view that pane of glass.
Go on.
A properly installed windshield contributes up to 60% of your vehicle's roof strength in a rollover accident.
60%, that's staggering.
It is. If that adhesive bond is weak, or if the wrong glass is used, the roof can just collapse much more easily in an accident.
So the windshield isn't a cover. It's a load-bearing structural support beam, essentially. And it plays a role in airbag deployment, too, doesn't it? It's absolutely vital. During a frontal collision, the passenger side airbag deploys at this incredible speed, and it actually bounces off the interior of the windshield to protect the passenger.
Okay, I didn't know that.
If the windshield is poorly sealed or improperly installed, the force of that airbag can actually push the glass outward.
Which would compromise the whole deployment.
Exactly. It reduces the airbag's effectiveness right when you need it most.
This brings us right back to that OEM versus aftermarket debate. If my insurance is covering it, why would I ever risk putting in a piece of aftermarket glass?
The only reason is usually if your policy forces it or if you're paying totally out of pocket and trying to save like $20 or $30, the risk is really twofold: structural fit and optical quality.
Okay.
While a lot of aftermarket options meet minimum federal safety standards, the source material notes that only OEM glass guarantees that perfect curvature and thickness that you need to avoid optical distortion.
And what does that distortion actually look like when you're driving? Well, it might not look like much when you first get in the car. But subtle ripples, slight warps, or differences in the glass consistency can cause significant eye strain during sustained highway driving.
Which is inherently dangerous.
Very. And remember, the ADA systems. If the glass has any optical aberration, even if the sensor is perfectly calibrated, the image it receives is distorted. That can lead to phantom readings and potential safety system errors.
So the small cost savings just doesn't justify the compromise.
Not at all, especially when insurance is likely to cover the certified OEM option anyway.
And before we wrap the insurance angle, let's just reassure our listener again. Using your comprehensive insurance for a glass claim generally won't penalize you with higher premiums, correct?
That's right, because these are classified as no-fault claims. I mean, you can't control a rock flying off a truck on I-5 insurance companies generally separate these from your collision history. Using your coverage for this is precisely what you pay for.
Fantastic. So what does this all mean for you, the Tualatin driver, needing a replacement? Let's recap the action plan we've built.
Okay, first, understand your price point is variable, that $200 to $600 range. But immediately call your comprehensive insurer. Confirm if your deductible is waived. That's your biggest potential shortcut.
Second, if you have any modern vehicle with active safety features, confirm that the installer is certified and includes mandatory ADS calibration.
And verify they can perform both static and dynamic procedures if your car needs it. Never, ever skip that step. It is non-negotiable for safety.
Absolutely.
And finally, remember that convenience is often pretty high in your area. Our sources note that many professional Tualatin installers offer high-quality mobile service.
So they'll come to your home or office.
Exactly. It saves you the hassle of driving with a cracked windshield or coordinating a ride. Just make sure the weather is good enough for a full, proper adhesive cure.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it leads to a really critical moment of reflection. Given everything we've learned today, that the windshield is responsible for up to 60% of the vehicle's structural integrity and is often covered by insurance as a no-fault incident. Is there ever a justifiable scenario where a modern vehicle owner should prioritize a small, out-of-pocket cost savings over ensuring certified OEM quality and mandatory ADAS calibration?
And that raises this important question about how we view vehicle repair. Are you just buying a replacement part, or are you restoring the critical load-bearing safety architecture of your car? The structural safety of your vehicle depends entirely on choosing quality and precision over just minimal cost savings. That's really the mindset every driver should adopt.